Hi, you're watching Hindustan Times, and I'm Aditi Prasad. Uh, it is no secret that Pakistan is home to some 40,000 terrorists. It's actually self-admitted by Prime Minister Imran Khan himself. Many of these have been blacklisted by the United Nations, and now with another meeting of the Global Terror Funding Watchdog (FATF) coming up next week. All eyes are really on Pakistan and on FATF, whether the body moves Pakistan from the present grey list to the blacklist or reverts it to the white list. I am joined by Shishir Gupta, executive editor of the Hindustan Times, who's closely tracking Pakistan's tango with the FATF for the last several years. Shishir, in about a week from now, there is another meeting of the FATF. There's increased speculation all around about whether Pakistan is going to be blacklisted or whether it's going to remain in the grey list. What can we expect according to you?
See, Aditi, what is happening is that the meeting takes place in Paris on from October 21st to 23rd. Now, for Pakistan to be whitelisted, it requires 12 out of 39 votes of the member states.
Right.
If it gets it goes into the whitelist. But for it to go into the blacklist, it requires a full-fledged, unanimous approval from 39 members, and all it requires a veto from 3 members. In this case, the 3 members who are going to possibly veto the entire thing is all whether China, Turkey, and Malaysia. So in all probability, Pakistan will remain in the grey list, though Pakistan is trying its level best to convince the world that actually it has taken action against terror.
What I really want to come to is that there is also a school of thought that Pakistan is also lobbying heavily to sort of get back into the white list.
You see, what is happening is that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan on October 1st, they hired a Houston-based top lobbyist company called Linden Strategies. They want Linden Strategies to promote the narrative that Pakistan actually has taken action against terrorists, and that that they've taken some very serious action. They've arrested people, and that is why they should be allowed to be whitelisted. Now, the one is this. Second thing is that Pakistan is telling the world that actually, groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed, they are operating not from Pakistan but from Afghanistan, and their top leadership is not in Pakistan but in the neighboring country. Third thing, the top leadership of Lashkar-e-Taiba has been arrested and action is being taken against them. This is the narrative that they are trying to promote, but the facts are totally different. Fact is that in Jaish-e-Mohammed, the chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed is right now lying with a medical condition of the spine in Bahawalpur in Punjab, and his entire family is running the terror show, whether it is in Afghanistan or in Jammu and Kashmir. As far as Hafiz Saeed goes, Hafiz Saeed's son and his commander-in-chief, Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi, who is the 2611 main accused, they are running the show. So it's all an exercise in obfuscation that Pakistan is doing, and it is trying to politicize a event which is actually based on technical issues as to what it actually has done. You must understand that in Pakistan, there are 66 organizations and 7,600 individuals who are covered under UN 1267 and UN 1373 resolutions, which were all moved post 9/11 attacks.
Okay, so what you're basically saying that Pakistan has really been pulling the wool on the eyes of the FATF as well as
Absolutely.
as well as the rest of the world
Yes.
as far as its action against action in the to sorry comply with the FATF obligations are concerned as far as
See,
stopping terror funding
last
on its
last
soil.
year,
Yeah.
last year there was an action plan which was made for Pakistan. They had to comply with 27 of those points. Out of those 27, 21 Pakistan claims to have complied with. And then came the mutual evaluation report October 2019, which has found that action has not been taken as per requirements, both on the the counterterrorism as well as money laundering fronts. So the fact is that Pakistan is found wanting in taking action against terrorist groups based in Pakistan. Now, what is a classical strategy of Pakistan is that, one group is suddenly pushed up, the other is pushed down. I'll give you an example. After the December 2001 Parliament attack in India, what happens is that Jaish-e-Mohammed was pulled down deliberately, and Lashkar was allowed to operate. Jaish subsequently also targeted their own president, Pervez Musharraf, in November 2003. Suddenly, then came the 26/11 attacks, after which Lashkar was pulled down, Jaish was pulled up. So it's all one huge game that is being played out, and Pakistan remains the epicenter of terrorism, whether anybody likes it or not.
As far as Pakistan trying to lobby its place, etc., is concerned, what do you think? I mean, does Pakistan really this lobbying that Pakistan has been trying to do? Uh, do you think it's going to work this time?
I don't
Especially
think so.
given, yeah,
No, I don't think so. The lobby is going to work this time because we know what the world feels about China right now at the current moment, whether it is Ladakh or whether it is Taiwan, whether it is Senkaku Island, whether it is trade wars with Australia, what's happening with US. So I don't think so anybody's buying that narrative. Turkey has been very active with Pakistan actually sending in irregulars in the Azerbaijan Armenian dispute over Nagorno Karabakh. And we know that the Pakistani irregulars are there in Azerbaijan. And as far as Malaysia concerns, Malaysia does not carry that much of weight, actually, seriously, to really push and get Pakistan whitelisted. I don't think so. It's a possibility.
uh,
Yet again, I say the single thing: if Pakistan can ensure that Taliban will not resort to violence in Afghanistan, maybe
that is
a deal,
that is
maybe
the
a deal
card
could
that
be.
Pakistan still holds up its sleeve.
Maybe that is the only leverage that Pakistan holds. Nothing
Right.
beyond that. Nothing beyond that. So I think it's going to remain into the grey list. It's going to have FATF is going to prepare a new assessment plan for it, and then they'll have to comply with the new assessment plan, which is going to be reviewed by the Asia Pacific Group, and then again come up with the Paris Plenary. So I don't think so this is going to happen, but then anything is possible with Pakistan.
Pakistan's all-weather friend China is now no longer the chair of FATF.
President.
Germany is now the FATF.
Yes.
Is the chair of the FATF.
Yes.
What impact do you think that is going to have on Islamabad's fortunes at the plenary this time?
You see, it's not that Germany does not have a close relationship with China. Germany has a very close relationship, economic relationship with China. All the Audis and the Mercedes are sold in China. Remember that.
Right.
But the fact remains is that Germany also is now coming under pressure and has taken a certain amount of steps. For instance, it refused to supply the air independent propulsion for Pakistan's Augusta class submarines recently, and that was approved at the level of no less than Chancellor Angela Merkel. So I don't think so anybody is going to get carried away with this narrative. Seriously. Not with what is happening right now. And we all know that the epicenter of terrorism still lies in Pakistan. Whether the problem is in India, whether the problem is in Afghanistan, whether the problem is in Europe or in US, somewhere, somehow, the threads reach up to Islamabad.